5-hour long run today. Distance doesn't matter because we're in more of a hilly area. Maybe 30 to 40k. Aiming for around that 1,000 meter vert. So should be a good hit. One of the dudes will be joining me in roughly an hour. So I get some extra K's in. And getting close now, so staying with the game plan where it's walk the hills, run the flats, cruise it down. So it should be good. Needed that rain. So first rough lap done. I've done almost 11k in an hour 14 and 300 vert. So good hit. Probably do that 2-3 more times. Yeah, the body holds up. I cut it short because I had to try and meet up with one of the dudes. So the lap will be closer to that 12k, I'd say. But good lap, so looking around 12k, roughly 300 to 400 vert if I try to extend it out. If I go the opposite direction, I'll do that this time. Unsure how much it's going to be or how long it's going to take because it did look a bit more steep, but we'll see how we go. 30k, just over 4 hours, 1100 gain, good hit, and until next time.
How fun's been, eh, Mitch? Hey?
So deep. That hill, I've never been emotional.
Yeah.
I was fucking emotional.
Nah, nice, mate.
For the peak weekend and for this training at Livingston, we had done a lot of longer runs out there over the last training phase. And what we knew was we were going to go out there, we're going to get close to that 2,000 meters elevation gain for our long run, for the peak long run, which was that ultra distance in duration and time. So the peak week itself, we did 60 kilometers leading into the Monday to Thursday, knowing that the peak run itself was on the Friday, and then we're going to push 2 middle distance runs, so that 2 by 16k efforts on the Saturday and the Sunday. So that was our peak week. Ran 143 kilometers, 5,500 meters elevation gain. And the week before, we didn't have a rest day. We did a bigger week as well. We did 123 kilometers with 5,000 meters elevation, and mixed between road running and trails. However, for the peak weekend itself, it was 10 hours of running on the trails through rolling hills and just keeping the heart rate low, because we did know that we had a lot of fatigue going into the peak week and the peak weekend itself. So we tried to keep the heart rate as low as possible. So we walked the hills, ran the flats at around a comfortable 6.5 minute kilometer, and then always ate 30 to 40 carbs every hour, and then every 3 hours we had a larger meal which we had back of our cars, which you use as a mini aid station. So that's the idea behind the peak week, the peak weekend. Took a bit of a risk. I didn't have too many rest days leading into that. If I was to have a recovery day, it was that hour run, keeping the heart rate under 150, which is relative to my math. Obviously, we know that with that, the hills and the terrain does dictate the fluctuation in the heart rate. It was just a gauge that if it was spiking too much or too high too often, then I'll dial back my runs. So the risks that I took leading into the peak week and the peak weekend and that phase of training was to minimise the amount of rest as I can and see how the body would feel and felt through that period. So overall, everything felt great. I didn't walk away with any niggles or injuries from that weekend, or the month leading up, and focused on the recovery work pre and post, hydration, and lots of water, lots of electrolytes. For our long run, we did that through the heat of the day, because we will be running through that part for the race. So we ran from mid-afternoon, so where we are, it's the hottest part of the day, mid-afternoon to the evening. And then the next day we did a nice and early run, so we minimised that rest and recovery period, and then cycled that through to the Sunday as well. So that was a bit of the background to the peak week, peak weekend, and a bit of the training leading up.